Hey, hey. Sam, do me a favor, and if anybody gets freaking whatever tonight, just take them, just mute them. Unless they're complete assholes, then just hit hide channel. Hey, I'm good. So, I did what you guys asked, and I did a same with you, babe. Anybody's rude or disrespectful, if you know who they are, hide them. If you don't, mute them. Whatever. In case we get some new people tonight. I don't know if we will, but if we do. Um, so I did what you guys asked, and I put up a video of the crime scene and things that I caught. I picked out, like, the big glaring obviousness, and put it on. I have it. I don't know if I have it on. Yeah, I think I have it on YouTube already. So that's not good. You in a mood? Um, I have a bunch of TikTok videos I'm going to be transferring to YouTube as well for people who don't watch TikTok. And of course, because this is like my main platform at the moment. But I will say this. I guess YouTube is doing a little bit better. It's so hard to try to change over social media venues. So I have been I got about 2,000 views on a video that I got 300,000 views on TikTok, but I'm not going to complain because at least I'm doing better than like the 60. So, I mean, but like it was at like 300 and some thousand. What do y'all think of Gypsy's lawyer now hired as her manager for $5,000 a month? What? Where did you hear that? Where in God's name is there an actual is that rumor or whatever? Look, I've been busy today. I've been busy today, so I can't I haven't heard that. You got to be kidding me. Is this from her though? Is this from her? I don't believe anything I see at this point. Is this like from her? Katie joined the video. Oh my lord. Oh, the PR firm. So that is wild and strange to me because if you guys know anything about the PR debacle that basically tore apart like all of true crime TikTok and that whole he's going tonight. I was sleeping when he got up in the morning. So um he is going to be doing that tonight when he gets home. If you guys know anything about the PR debacle that happened when Christy got a PR team that really wasn't a PR team and a woman that has a lot of issues, while I was speaking with them, Gypsy's supposed to have a PR team from Lifetime. So it's odd to me that she would hire Mike's firm as a PR firm when he's like a injury lawyer now. Like he's not a um so she hired a PR firm for $7,500, which she was supposed to already have one through Lifetime unless they revoked that when the show got over. I'm not sure. I have no idea. I just know what I was told while I was in the thick of shit. Um her lawyer is her manager. Again, that is wild. He is literally like a personal injury car accident lawyer now. Like he went from being the public defender or whatever, public attorney, to when he went into private practice, he is like a self-injury lawyer. So that is wild. That is wild to me. And especially in light of the failed lawsuit that happened with Fancy. Um in spite of the failed lawsuit that was not even put in the correct venue, I guess maybe he hung up his shoes as a lawyer and decided to do a manager. I'm not really sure why you would do that, but I mean, whatever. Um, and um, so hey. So ooh, got to get that bank. Got to get that bank. I don't know who Red Banyan is. I have no idea. I don't get into all that. I have no idea. Um, but that is definitely news to me. I've not been online today. I've been busy. I put up a bunch of videos on TikTok, which I will be moving over to YouTube. The last time that I saw Katie Joy live, if you guys remember that incident, the last time that I saw Katie Joy live, she was busy telling me how much they hate me. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? I happened to fall into Katie Joy's TikTok live. I saw her on there, and I didn't really even recognize who she was because I've never seen her. I've never seen her. So I've only heard what Christy's said about her while I was talking to Christy, which was nothing bad, by the way. At the time, they were still friends. So at the time, she was speaking glowingly about Katie. I just want to put that out there. But I was scrolling TikTok and I saw her come. She came on my FYP, and she was talking about things like when you split from the Blanchards and you realize the amount of manipulation that has been put on you, and how you feel betrayed and how you feel some kind of way. And I was like, oh, I can get behind this. I understand this. So I went in there and, I started talking or whatever. And a couple people recognized me. The chat was moving extremely fast. There was, 1,800 people in there. And I could see her, reading random comments or whatever. And I was trying a little. I'm like, hey, I can back you on this. Like, I totally can back you on this. And my name on that account, because I have two accounts that I use mostly on TikTok, and my name on that account was just Ryan, not Ryan Lee. And everybody in the Gypsy camp knows me as Ryan Lee. So like I'm just being shown as Ryan. So just I put I am Ryan Lee, and she's like mid talk, and she's just like, they hate you. And I was like, all right. Like, I said, that's not what I heard literally, last night and this morning. But I mean, that's cool. Like, I believe it. Yeah, you're Ryan too, Jan. I believe it, you know. And then, something else was said here, there, or whatever. And then like she doubled down. And she's like, they hate you. And then people are like, she's talking about Ryan Anderson. She's talking about Ryan Anderson. And she doubled it. She was like, Ryan Lee. Like, I'm like, all right. Yeah, she definitely talking about me. She's definitely talking about me. So that's the last time that that's the only time that I've ever seen her live or went into one of her lives, because up until a week and a half ago, she was friends with the family, and I was not. So I had no real reason. And then I had heard they'd had a falling out. And when they had the falling out, again, I didn't think too much of it, because at this point, people are running away from the Blanchards like they're on fire. So, but when I was scrolling and I heard the words, manipulation and that how betrayed she felt, I was like, well, damn, I feel that on a whole nother level, because I was manipulated to all get out. And definitely felt betrayed. I felt super betrayed, because I had this freaking bullseye on my back trying to back this family, and I had people left, right, and sideways telling me, you're going to be manipulated, you're being used. And in my gullibleness, I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah, I was. So, and I still have people from over there telling me that I wasn't, which is hard, because I'm one of those people, like, I pretty much believe anything that's said to me. So like they got in my head. They did. They got in my head, and I'm like, well, maybe I wasn't. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe she really is sorry. Maybe she really did. Maybe she really didn't screw me over. And then I see the thing on Katie Joy, and then people are like, well, you can't trust Katie Joy. She's been sued. She says a lot of shitty things about people, and I'm like, okay, but she had that down. Like she had that down. So I'm gonna say she's probably telling the truth there, definitely. Um and 1 second, Goldie. And so I understood that. And then during that live, I was being texted and I didn't check the text messages. And they informed me that she faked being her husband. And you're like, well, why would you do that? Well, I don't know, but I found his actual Facebook instead of the one that they shared. Do I think that the blue blanket that was placed there after she had already passed away? I mean, that's possible because people, when you do something to somebody you love, a lot of times they will do something loving afterwards, which I never really understood. Um, Gypsy claimed that she found out Santa wasn't real when she got to jail at 23 and didn't get Christmas presents. What? Like what? Um, who cares? She's saying everything that confirms what you said, so I'm going to swallow that tea happily, right? I get that. That's how I was. I felt very vindicated because she was saying the things that I've been talking about for the time that I've been talking about it. And I've seen other people on TikTok now. They're making the algorithm. There's a girl in Louisiana that talks about it. I'm friends with a couple different people that have been involved with the family. And one of them is one of them likes to stay on the DL, but she tells me the truth. She tells me the truth, and I appreciate her greatly because as a person, she's relatively close to the family. Like she's relatively close, and she's the one who gave me the one up about Rod having an actual profile and not just the shared one that they have, and the fact that she knew that this had went down. And I believe her because after I went back and looked at the messages, it made sense. It made sense. So Katie also claims that Christy and Gypsy are fighting a lot, fighting over money, etc. Mia's sick of her. If she truly thinks Christy is controlling, I wonder what Gypsy might try something. So I can't verify. Whether or not they were fighting. They didn't seem to be fighting a lot when I was around. I do know money is always at the forefront. Always at the forefront. I want to hear more about this. Sarah Anderson lied about her death and her brother, and apparently was in your live talking. No, that's complete. That's not what's going on. Actually, if you want to hear a portion of that, I guess Fancy's going live because she talked with Sarah. I'm not going to get a chance to see it or watch it or whatever, but I would be very interested to know if I got told differently. That would be extremely frustrating. I scrolled by a live last night with this guy claiming to be Nick's uncle, saying Gypsy stole 2 knives at Walmart. There is a guy on there that supposedly is his uncle. I'd have to see the name to tell you if it was or it wasn't. I could also say that I'm the president of Albania. That doesn't make it true. Seriously, if she did still believe in Santa, how on earth did she believe she was on the nice list? Gypsy gives me serial killer vibes. I just can't believe anything she says. I feel she's dangerous to anyone. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I'm not going to lie, especially because she's very about the fact that she's controlled nonstop. Everybody controls her. Dee Dee controlled her. Prison controlled her. Nick controlled her. Ryan controlled her. Everybody controls her. The problem is the girl just doesn't like the word no. They just don't. She just don't like the word no. On the Santa story last live, even though Santa brought the webcam, lingerie cord sets, joke colors, leather bush, and knife box. Yeah, that's they call him BDSM Santa. That's what they do. That's what they do. Yeah. Whose live did you get that off of, Petty? Because I've been getting screenshots, and I feel like I'm gonna have to touch on that later. I've been getting screenshots. Something that I said got a little taken out of context, but shocker. What do I think is the secret that Nick said he will take to his grave? Well, it's very interesting to me, Nick, the entire topic of Nick, to be honest. By the way, if you want to ask a question, hold on a second, my thing is acting up. If you want to ask a hold on, because I have this and now it's all messed up. Hold on, maybe not. Okay. Hold on, live chat, top chat. You can always do right into the super chat thing. You can send into super chat. No, I'm not exactly begging for money, but it makes it easier for me to catch your questions. If you have questions that want to be asked, you can ask it in the super chat. That way I can see them, because they're probably going to scroll by while I'm talking about this, to be honest. So you can hit that up, and I can try to go over there and touch on some questions here in a minute. If you feel your question's super important, you're going to hear dogs barking. I have dogs. Deal with it. The Nick thing has always really confused me, because I had reached out to Nick, and he was cordial to me. He was not rude. And, I had been very vocal in the fact that I believe he needs a fair trial. I believe he needs a fair trial. I do not believe he needs to be out, especially due to the fact of the emails that I've seen, and the emails are wild. I don't know if they're all out there, but there's one in particular that is really, 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 really bad. And I don't feel he needs to be out, but I do believe every person deserves a fair trial. But I've been very vocal in the fact that I believe he needs a fair trial. And the thank you that I got for that is the people that are manning his NPG Cornerstone TikTok, that him and that is sanctioned by Nick, and his dad is very well aware of it, and has actually talked about it in true crime groups, that Nick decided to put cartoons out of all the creators, and somehow I got added in there, even though I've been trying to be nice about the situation, and he decided to draw me very unflatteringly with a shirt that said Butch Bully. You don't understand. I'm figuring this as I just don't understand. I just understand how Ryan defends her, even though she's done so much to him, the same reason that Nick does. I don't know what she does to men. I have no idea if she's just some siren. I'm not sure. But it's the same reason that Nick defends her, in my opinion. Anyways, I mean, I can't be in their heads, but I feel like it's the same reason that Nick still defends her to this day. And, when he says that he knows things that would blow everything wild, and he knows things he would take to his grave, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, because I don't think we're ever going to get the full story. And the only way we're going to get the full story is if one of them actually, gets a conscience, or two, when his appeals run out and he ain't got nothing else better to do. Because, I mean, he's already starting, he made a video on NPG that is very damning to him, because people were trying to show that he wasn't as culpable as maybe, they're saying, that maybe he had a hand in the aftermath, which is what I've always thought, or whatnot. And he actually went on to make a video saying, I'm not that stupid. I think I would know if I was there what was going on. And I'm like, you're under appeal, buddy. Like, that was the dumbest thing you could have done. That is the dumbest thing. You don't, while you were on appeal, you don't sit there and talk about how you were there, you did it. Like, that is not going to go over well in an appeals process, because they monitor social media. They monitor what goes on. And, when you're giving the blessing to your team on social media, and they're putting out there that, you're smarter than, you would have realized what was going on. And she wasn't unalived when he got there. Like, that, not good. Not good. Very, very not good. I believe every person should have a fair trial, regardless of how guilty they are. I don't think that the retrial is going to find anything different But I do believe that his trial didn't exactly go as planned. And I do believe that everybody deserves a fair trial, even the guiltiest of the guilty. Do I believe he needs to be out? Absolutely not. Maybe at some point in the future. And I've said that before. Maybe at some point in the future, maybe he could get out like Gypsy's out, or maybe be moved to some type of mental institution type thing, halfway house. I don't know. But he does not need to be walking the streets right now. I can tell you that just based off of different emails that I've seen between him and an ex that were supposedly coached, whatever, to make him show his bad side. And my problem is if you can show your bad side based just off of an email, what are you going to do in reality? What are you going to do in reality? Did she contact her former jailmates? I don't know. There's been talk of probation being revoked. Until there's proof of that, I'm not gonna put that out there. I don't like, people have talked about parole being revoked numerous times, and it's a crock. It's a crock. She's as of yet, she's not done anything that's parole and invoking. I know she's not supposed to talk to felons and whatever, and maybe that would be a reason, but as far as I know, I've not heard anything. Oh my Lord. Hey! Enough. When you have a lot of dogs, this is what happens. And I have dogs barking in my backyard. So they're making the dogs in the dining room bark, which is making the dogs in here bark. So that's where they're going at this point. So I do think that he, for whatever reason that I don't understand, I feel like he is covering up something that involves Gypsy. I don't know what it is, but I feel like he is definitely covering something up, and I don't know why. I don't understand why. Because if I was in there serving time for something that someone asked me to do, I would be singing like a friggin' canary. I would be singing like a freaking canary. There's no way you're going to bring me down, and I did something that you asked me to do, and now I'm going to sit here and cover for you. That ain't going to be me. If you got me in jail for the rest of my life, I'm going to be telling the truth. I'm not going to be telling lies, but I'm going to be telling the truth. I wonder if it's the fact that she does the kid voice. She's short and people just feel like she needs to be protected, safe. Well, don't forget the whole story she put out there. The whole narrative that she fed to social media and news outlets about what her mother did. But yeah, a lot of people, I mean, even now it astounds me because I'm seeing, I had a video that just went up, and the amount of people that thought she was still a child, still a minor when she did this was astounding. Yeah, she's 4'11", but my God, there's short adults out there. Yeah, she sounds like a 6-year-old, but that does not mean anything. She was a full-fledged 23-year-old woman when she did this. And the fact that people feel the need to protect her because she's small and dainty. There's been small and dainty women out there who have taken lives. Okay. I don't see why that is a reason to protect her. And I feel like the more, and I said this back in January, that the more there's going to be more and more and more and more stuff that comes out, and her fall from grace is going to be a really hard fall from grace. Because she came out, Little Miss America's sweetheart, for whatever reason that I still can't comprehend, how you can put a person who did what they did on a pedestal like that. But the more people that talk, the fact that the crime scene photos came out largely, they've been out in Fancy's Patreon for some time, but not everybody knew who Fancy was. People found out who Fancy was more so when she got sued. And when she got sued, more people started paying attention than they were. She had a pretty good, she has a pretty good fan base, but more people found out who she was. And then when Candace Starr decided to go look at the photos and then put them up in her community tab as a happy birthday, they came out, and I think more people are seeing what went on in those photos and comparing it to the interrogation where she is acting like such a child and she's so damaged and Nick's some big bad guy, which is why I put out a lot of the text messages There was an hour and a half worth of text messages on the video that I was showing. And I didn't show all of them, obviously, but I did want to hit on a couple of the important portions. How can Ryan, her husband, defend her after how she treated him? Again, I don't know. I don't understand. It was frustrating to me. The fact that they were putting out to me that they didn't want Ryan to be the bad guy, and then all of a sudden he is like Satan incarnate. Do you think her mom and her did schemes together and something happened to her? Do you think her mom actually? I do not believe her mom did all of that to her, and I do believe that at some point Gypsy got in on the schemes. If she did only have like 4 surgeries, why was that not used in her defense? Against her defense. So she took a plea. So she originally got indicted for first degree, and she ended up getting a plea deal that she very smartly took. She's made no bones about saying in interviews she knew that there wasn't a conspiracy law. She knew that there wasn't a conspiracy law. She took a plea deal very smartly. I absolutely believe that she was in on it. Matter of fact, if you reference back to 2015 local papers, they were saying that they believed that there was a familial fraud, which was including both of them, but charges were never filed, because why waste taxpayers' money on a fraud case when they are having to try her, or they were going to try her for a much larger offense. Ryan is caught up with the version of Gypsy she portrayed herself to be. Like many others, he fell for a narcissistic person. I got you. I am so new to TikTok or YouTube bloggers, but I've literally watched all your videos in the last couple of weeks. You are a badass. I appreciate you. I hope you're subscribing now and consider joining the membership. I would appreciate it. Help a small creator out. She researched penal codes, but not Santa. Oh my God. No, that's so true though. That's so true. Oh my Lord. My thing is, she acted like she didn't even know that she was of age, and her mom lied to her. But all of a sudden her mom's dead and she's normal and aware. Like, makes no sense. Exactly. She was at some point, she was helping in those schemes. Okay. She's a rebellious. Oi! She's a rebellious teenager. You think that she's not being, conned into sitting into the chair? She wasn't being forced. She was being conned of, you'll get free shit. I didn't hear the Santa thing. Like, look, I did watch Mommy Dead and Dearest on YouTube, and I've watched one episode of her show because people told me I needed to watch it because it was something that I was very well aware of, because I was in the situation when it happened, on the periphery, not in the situation, but I was very well aware of what was happening. So they told me to watch it. I am going to watch, as much as I don't want to, I am going to watch at least episodes 6, 7, and 8, because so help me if I find something else. Oi! At first, the interrogation videos, in my opinion, it was like they were babying her. They gave her food in a blanket. They were talking to her about her favorite movies and going to Disney World. Yes, because it's called I can't think of the word, but they were trying to make her feel safe. Camaraderie. They were trying to build a camaraderie with her to where she would feel safe, like she was being able to talk to a friend. It's actually common in a lot of interrogation videos. I bet she's going to regret leaving Ryan down the line, because people think Ken is using her, and I believe the baby is Ryan's. Her mom also told everyone that she was mentally disabled. You want me to believe she fully believed that? There's no way. She was absolutely playing a part. Sorry if you've already touched on this. I would just find your page on TikTok, but I was wondering what you thought about the comment she left on her mom's page after that happened. Okay, so again, if you guys really want your video, if you really want your questions answered, please try to go over to the other chat, because I'm going to miss them. But it's very simple. She said in Nick's appeal, he said, "Who did you pretend to be?" And she said, "I pretended to be him." She wanted him found. She wanted him caught, period. That is the same reason she mailed the gloves and the weapon to his house. She wanted him caught. She wanted to be free. She wanted to be the damsel in distress where she told him that this happened, and then he took her, and she was a victim. She's always a victim. She's always a victim. How did I go about getting all this information? Have you done this before or just got interested in this case? So I've been interested in this case as it started in 2015. And I was a huge Gypsy supporter. Back all the way in December, I believe, on my TikToks. I was going on about how it was self-defense and how she never deserved to spend a day in prison. I was scrolling TikTok and I came across Fancy Maselli. And I started working with her. She was the family's old PR that was making when the act was coming out, they were going to put out by proxy as Gypsy's version because they didn't believe it. They didn't like the act. So they were going to put out one called by proxy, and Fancy was helping them to do that. They ended up breaking ties. Fancy got very upset with the family and went on a years-long tirade of not being happy with the family. I fell in with that. And I worked with Fancy for about a month, and me and Fancy are both alpha females. So we started to definitely not be able to agree on how things were ran, and personal disagreement led me to not talking to her anymore. Within 2 days of me not speaking to her, Christy Blanchard showed up in my live. We started speaking February 20th, and we spoke through April 9th. I was well aware of the split the day that it happened, or the day after it happened. I'm sorry. The split happened, I believe, on a Saturday. I heard about it on a Sunday. They went to get her things on a Monday. I kept that on the DL because I was asked to, and when I didn't leak it, it ended up in People Magazine. Figure that the fuck out anyway. There was a lot of things that went on. She made up a whole ass story trying to get him for the crime. Absolutely. I mean, just the whole, you don't know how he is bullshit, you know. I think you were spot on with your reenactment of what happened that night. Thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody got really mad when I did that. Everybody got really mad when I did that, and a couple of people recorded it, and I never posted it because it made a lot of people mad. Christy was well aware that I did it. She's seen it. She knew. I never made any bones while I was speaking with her about the fact that I thought the Gypsy was more involved than maybe she was ever brought to be, in my opinion. And so I never actually posted it, but when Candace Starr did the session with the bear, and it was literally what I was saying, I felt compelled to duet Candace's video and find the dramatization and put it with it. The dramatization happened in January. And she came up with that video in July. So it's not like I tried to ride her coattails. That was done in January. So do you think her dad and Christy deep down think she was involved? I can't speak for Rod. I was going to say I only spoke to him when he yelled at me, but apparently I think that was Christy. Christy has doubts. At least that's what she told me, that she had doubts. That Gypsy hasn't told her everything, and that Gypsy essentially doesn't want to disappoint them, and that Gypsy hasn't told them everything, and she's thought things. She's seen things from my point of view. She's seen things from naysayers' point of view. So I don't know if she told me that to try to, again, more manipulation, or if she truly does believe that. I'm not sure. Did Gypsy see the video of reenacting? The whole family knows. The whole family knows, trust me. They know. They know. They were watching me while I was with Fancy. Yes. They were very well aware of who I was. Oi! Hold on one moment. The joys of having animals. I'm so sorry. They were all outside and they were, oh my Lord. Anyway. When Gypsy was going for parole, do you know if Christy actually told them she was afraid to have Gypsy released and at her house? I don't know that. No, I'm not going to say that I know that. I know I'm late to the party, but there's so much drama around the family. But they still have so many supporters. I don't understand. Everyone has their own opinions. I can tell you this. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's what it boils down to, and I can only speak for myself in this aspect, but I see it time and time again with the creators that have been reached out to, and as Katie Joy puts it, all the small time creators that get reached out to. Girl, I got 150,000 on TikTok and I got 2,000 on YouTube. I'm not that small, okay? I'm not that small. That was a little infuriating, but whatever. Anyways, you know, to be brought into something and feel like you're a part of something and feel like you have first row seats and stuff. I don't know if you consider stars in the eyes or whatever, but I feel like a lot of people that get involved to the extent that they do, the family is very, very, very good at manipulation, and they're very, very good at breadcrumbing, and they're very, very good at love bombing. Okay. So when I was friends with Christy, she was really good at telling me what a good friend I was. And, she'd put love ya all the time and tell me, how much she cared for me and all this stuff. And it makes you feel like somebody cares. They're really, really good at making you feel like you're special. I was being told information that was not being put out there. Like I said, I knew about Ryan leaving the day after it happened. It happened on a Saturday. I found out on Sunday. They went to get her things on Monday. I was being trusted with inside information, and so it makes you feel like they trust you. It makes you feel like they care enough to trust you. And what they're doing, come to find out, is I'm hearing from different creators around here that a lot of the things that I was told was being told to them. So you have to wonder, number one, we're all being trusted with the same stuff. We're all being trusted with the same stuff. And part of the reason that they trust people with that stuff the way that they do is they want somebody to leak it. They want somebody to leak it. And when they were trusting me with stuff that I was not leaking, things ended up in People Magazine. Things ended up on TMZ. And when it broke that Ryan and Gypsy had split, the PR team tried to nail me to the cross and tried to say that I leaked it, but then it came out that somebody on Gypsy's page leaked it. I don't know, guess who. And I have the text message from the PR team that said to me straight out, I will release this, and I will release this to the content creator of my choice. And then within 20 minutes, it was breaking that Gypsy had left Ryan. Within 20 minutes. I was at work. I got the message at like 4, and by 4:30, it was being released everywhere about how Gypsy had left Ryan. Because I didn't leak it quick enough. I didn't leak it quick enough. I have found that, like I said, we all got told that like we were special. I don't know. Her thing she loved to say is, I don't tell people this. I don't tell people this. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because I've heard the same story from numerous creators' mouths, and I haven't said anything. I've heard the things that, I've never told anybody. You did, because how the hell did they know these things? If I didn't say it and you told me and you don't know how, you don't tell anybody, how the hell are these people hearing the same damn thing? Make it make sense. You think Christy's behind all of this wanting to be out in for what? Like, I don't get how. Okay, so I'm going to make this very simple. I'm going to answer that question super easy. Money. Here's the deal. That show is based on a percentage. The show is based on a percentage. Okay. The more the show makes, the more Gypsy makes. Gypsy is making 3 times what Ryan is making on that show. Okay. She's making 3 times what he makes on that show. So the more that her name is out there, the more the content creators are beefing over her, the more that, first of all, the content creators beefing at each other it's great for that side. Number one, if we're beefing at each other, we're not beefing at her. So we're picking at each other. We're not picking out everything she does. 2, it keeps her relevant because we're all arguing about her. So her name is being brought up constantly without anybody looking at her for the shit that she is doing. So her name is staying relevant. She's staying in social media. And that brings more interest for more people to turn into the show. At what point were they doing what Dee Dee did? It's very similar. It's very similar, in my opinion, anyways. There is a lot of things that go on just honestly for fucking money. Just for money. You know, we were told all sorts of crazy things that we should have leaked, which would have brought, you know, more people to know and whatever. I know that in the mindset of them, for the most part, it all press is good press. You know, the whole stunt with the PR. Hold on yet again. Sissy, get in here now. Get in here. The whole stunt. This is how one of my lives is normally, people. This is how one of my lives is normally. They are very acting up. I am so sorry. This is so wild. Does Gypsy know Christy does this to all the creators? She may not have, but I know she freaking knows now. Why do you think Gypsy reached out to Nina? Why did Gypsy reach out to Nina? Why did Gypsy reach out to Natasha? Both of those are supposed to be anti-Gypsy. Okay, Natasha's supposed to not be friends with the family anymore, but she ended up on Natasha's live, which then ended up on TMZ the next day. Or the fact that Nina does nothing but anti-Gypsy content, but Gypsy for some reason reaches out to Nina and leaks. Oh, y'all don't even know. Okay, watch my videos on YouTube. Gypsy goes to Nina, and Nina loves her tea. Okay, it's not always hot, but whatever. She loves her tea, right? Gypsy comes and she knocks on Nina's door and she's like, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. And there's going to be a restraining order against Fancy. Well, the whole restraining order shtick thing had been going on. I was being told about it from the minute that I got brought in February. I even helped get stuff for said lawsuit. Okay. And you can go back if you don't believe me. I believe March 9th says the announcement. And we had been going, you can read it, you can go in other lives. Well, actually, you can't, because those ones weren't on YouTube. I'm sorry, but whatever. Anyways, you've been following me for a while. We had talked about the fact that there was going to be an announcement. They were going to announce the lawsuit. It was supposed to happen in March. It didn't happen until June. And, so when I didn't leak the lawsuit quick enough, Gypsy went running to Nina. Nina was going to talk about the restraining order portion, and we ended up outing that before she could say anything, which is why I'm blocked on her social media now. She don't like me. I spilled her tea. Anyway, I don't care. Well, that and I called her a fucking bully because she is. But anyway, continuing on. And people, for the love of Christ, please stop tagging Nina in my comments. Can you guys stop? Seriously? You're taking up the chat. Please stop doing that. When you guys tag Nina in my comments, don't bother. I'm blocked. She can't see it. So just don't even bother. Okay. And the fact that everybody always wants to, tag Nina like Nina's some fucking godsend to this. Nina gets all of her tea like fourth hand. And yes, she's been accurate because she did manage to somehow find an accurate source. Okay. But most of the shit she puts out, people already know. Well, not everybody, but knows, but whatever. And she puts it out there and people feel the need to tag her in my stuff. Just don't even bother. Don't even bother. Because she literally blocked me. Ever since I spilled her tea that she couldn't get the restraining order out and I called her a bully, she has me blocked. So don't bother tagging her. Okay. I don't know, but it needs to stop. So anyway, so you have to ask yourself, why Gypsy went running to Nina, who is an anti-Gypsy creator. She told Nina about the restraining order because I didn't link it quick enough. So then that had to come out. And then the lawsuit didn't even end up dropping until June. And in the meantime, I got a freaking target on my back because people are like, well, you said you knew this stuff and you didn't know it. And I did know it. But I was trying to be respectful to my friend and hold her secrets. And so you got to ask yourself why all these small-time content creators are being reached out to. And that is a fact. And I'm going to use Katie Joy's thing of small creators. Nina's got, 200,000, in my opinion, and I'm gonna die on this hill. She had 60,000 when I started watching her, and she started posting a lot of Gypsy, and now she's got about 200,000. So I know where most of those came from. Not saying all, I'm saying most. On my accounts that I use the most, I only have 15,000 and 30,000. My other accounts got 100,000, but I don't use it as much, Natasha had to rebuild from YouTube onto TikTok. She didn't have that many. Bree, which is I call him the Blanchard's Bulldog. She is a very small creator. But she goes tooth and nail for Gypsy, and I truly believe that she is trying to defend her friend, but I believe her friend is lying to her. Her friend literally said, I lie and I lie without conscience. And I truly believe that. I believe that a lot of the things she says to Brie are lies. That's just my view from everything I've seen. Oi! They are acting up wild tonight. I mean, like, they're normally barky, but this is a whole nother level of barky. They don't want to be outside. They don't want to be inside. They just want to wreak havoc right now. So unfortunately, you guys got to listen to it. Yeah, they are on tonight. I agree. They are being absolutely awful tonight. Yeah, they're driving me nuts. This is a whole nother level of whatever. And the Blanchards are losing people left and right. Yeah, they threw me out and blocked me everywhere. And now Katie Joy's gone, and Katie Joy's like me. She ain't gonna shut up. She's like me. She ain't gonna shut up. She's gonna say what she gotta say. And I don't think that they ever thought that they were gonna oust people who were going to say what they needed to say. Because when I was with her, I was very adamant in the fact that what you what you say to me is not going to go anywhere. Which, of course, as I said, probably didn't work for them because they wanted me to leak shit. That nose picture, that wasn't leaked. That nose picture wasn't leaked. Anyway, but I don't think they ever counted on Katie splitting. I don't think they counted on Katie splitting. I think that and that's not a good thing for them. That's not a good thing because I feel like Katie is gonna be out there, doing the same thing I do, which is trying to shed a light on you guys need to see what really the hell is going on. Because America by and large was fed this narrative that is not even accurate. The narrative is not even accurate. I get so frustrated with people in my comments who are like, I seen the act. I know what went on. No, you didn't. The act was Hollywood bullshit. Number one, it was Hollywood bullshit. But number two, people don't even take into the consideration that Gypsy does have something wrong with her. There is something wrong with her. That is why she had all this shit done. She has a chromosome disorder, and they talked about it in Mommy, Dead, and Dearest. Did you think it was weird how they just let you in with all that? They came to me. She came to me in my live. I didn't go to her. Now there is in our text messages, for whatever reason that I still don't understand. It looks like I reached out to her first, and maybe I did via text, but it was because she came into my live and was like, oh, you can talk to me anytime, blah, blah, blah. It's not entertaining, but why do people get involved with the family? What is the allure? I don't fucking know. What did you think about her birthday video on TikTok and how her baby bump seemed to be gone compared to 2 weeks when they took the pregnancy announcement pics? I do know that in the early points of pregnancy, women, especially in about the area she's in, sometimes you can look like you have a bump and then it goes away because a lot of it is baby bloat in the beginning. So she could have had baby bloat, which was an actual bump, and then it went down, and then there needs to be a bump. I'm not sure. Um, I've never watched the actor Mommy Dead and Dearest. I saw too much of the shit go down in person. Who are you? I know you messaged me on TikTok, but you literally said that you were a nobody, so I'm very confused who you were. She admitted that, and she says she feels guilty she got pregnant. What? Okay, y'all, one thing I'm gonna let y'all know this right now. I'm gonna let y'all know this right now. Okay. Something happens with Gypsy and that family every 10 days. Mark your calendars. Every 10 days, there's another big story. 10 days. I called it on the July 4th debacle where she put out the pregnancy test and then erased it and then said she was. It was, if you go back in my lives, you'll see it. About every 10 days, there's always some type of drama. There is a Rupanol medication with shaky honey on it next to her bed, and it's got the name Claudinia on it, not Gypsy. Was Gypsy labeling the meds, and did she stock the cabinet? I don't know. I know a lot of the meds up front were basically a bunch of over-the-counter stuff. Am I from Missouri or just about the case? I've followed the case since she was missing. So I heard about the case and they hadn't even found her yet. I had been involved in true crime since 1999 approximately. So this was not something new to me. I was involved with this case from the minute it happened. It just is wild to me that I got involved in it in real life, in real person with the family, especially being as against her as I ended up being. And they knew that, but I think they do that on purpose. There's a screenshot of her posting. She already had mom, whatever. Yeah, my daughter was huge at 12 weeks. She had an actual thing. Do you think the reason she deleted a bunch of her posts because of all the drama within the creators or the pictures of the crime that went viral? She does that. She erases and puts up and erases and puts up and erases and puts up. It's a sense of allure so that people check back. And my friends, okay. Oh, right. You're the one from Missouri, and a lot of your friends were swindled. I'm sorry. Yes, I have a pinned video on TikTok on use Socratic method that shows the social media engineering that is happening. Yes. And that was floated to me by their PR. She told me that there was a social experiment that was going on, that they were using Gypsy as a means to control the public media, except she blamed it on Fancy, and I fully believe that they're behind it, but whatever. I've heard about it since it happened in Missouri, so it's kind of a big deal when it happened. Them drinking around content creators seems like something Dee Dee would have done. Probably. Probably. Let's be real. So we will never really know until the autopsy is released. The tox screen might clear some stuff up. So right now, the autopsy is being sealed because of Nick's appeal. So when his appeals finally run out, it's going to be released, and Christy does have a copy. She likes to tell people she doesn't. She told me she doesn't, but Fancy, if you want to believe her or not, she said that she actually helped Christy get it. So as far as I'm aware, she has one. As far as Christy's aware, she does not. I've been in from the get-go. Didn't know you were doing true crime for this long. Yes, I'm back from the West Memphis 3 case. I know the West Memphis 3 inside out, upside down, left side, right. That is my little baby. And that happened in 96, and I got involved in 99. Do you think Ryan actually missed the court date? I don't know what you're talking about. Like I said, I've not been on social media in a whole lot of aspect the past couple days. I heard some people on TikTok thinking she could be faking her pregnancy to keep Ken. I did find it funny that the ultrasounds don't have any names on them, but she's probably not faking it. Although it is really weird that 1 minute she's taking an after a plan B, and like a month later, and talking about that you can't donate time to a child, not spend time, donate time to a child, and then like 3 weeks later she's pregnant. I thought that was wild. Dee Dee would most definitely would have had a TikTok with Gypsy in a wheelchair, probably. But let's touch on Dee Dee for a minute. So the crime scene photos are frustrating because when Fancy put them up, she should have. I know that she wouldn't have wanted to doctor the original video, but I feel like there's approximately five slides that should have absolutely been censored. It's one thing to out things for information. It's one thing to out things, and Candace, the way Candace did for vengeance. But what you're forgetting is Dee Dee was a victim, and she doesn't need to have her whole nude body on display when there was no evidentiary fact on her neither regions. I believe those pictures should have been censored. Do I believe that Gypsy was abused. No, I do not. I believe that Dee Dee was a first-time mom. I believe that there was things wrong with Gypsy, and she has had surgeries to fix the things that were wrong with her, such as her eyes, such as the fact she had failure to thrive, so she had a feeding tube, such as she had salivary gland issues, which is part of her microdeletion issue. And I believe that Dee Dee originally started off as a very concerned first-time mom that then got addicted to the attention, and then they ran cons. And as Dee Dee ran cons, Gypsy ended up running them with her. Because you're telling me that you're going to get a 12, 13, 14-year-old to do what you want without saying, hey, I'll get you Disneyland. No. And as for she didn't know her age, that's why when she was 12 and singing a song on stage, she was 12. And 3 years later, she was in another production where she was 12. I think she's smart enough to realize she wasn't 12 for 3 years, and nor was she 12 when she was 12. You guys are not giving her nearly enough credit or too much credit, depending on how you're looking at it. She knew how old she was. She knew. So that is, I don't have a ghost. That's my dog. That's one of my dogs. She knew. And you are never going to change my mind otherwise. I think it's funny that she didn't have numbers on a cake when there's a photo with numbers on the cake. Well, that's just another one of the things. I never had numbers on my cake. I didn't know how old I was, but you did. There's literally pictures of you with candles with numbers on them. So that's a crock. You know, she can't play like she was disabled. Why do you think the windows were tinted in her house? Because she was walking around. Look at that house. You couldn't put a wheelchair through that house. She knew she wasn't disabled. As she says, she knew she could walk. She puts in one conversation that Nick was the first person that knew. And in another outlet, she said that Dan was the first person that knew. Give me a fucking break. From what I understand, there are locals in that town who saw that girl walking around in public. In public. Sometimes she knows how old she is, and sometimes she forgets what she said. She's a brilliant liar. How could I don't know? Well, here's the deal: she remembers enough, but she doesn't remember enough to keep it accurate. You know, after all, she's been chained to a bed, she's been leashed to a bed, she's been tied to a bed, she's been tied to Dee Dee. It was 2 weeks. It was she wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom. She had to pee in a bucket. She was allowed only to go to the bathroom. The story has changed umpteen times. I wouldn't be surprised if Gypsy decides the baby would interfere too much with the attention on her, has a you-know-what, and claims she has a miscarriage. It's possible. As you guys know, part of the reason I got super involved back in the Gypsy case is because of the situation that I had with my daughter. My daughter is extremely a lot like Gypsy Rose in the way they act and everything. My daughter also, she went to jail for threatening to unalive me. She went to jail. She is now in a homeless shelter in fucking New York. Whatever, long story short, but they are very, 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 very similar. And when my daughter was pregnant, which by the way, she had to have her baby taken away because anyway, her psychiatrist was very worried that my daughter was going to be jealous of her child and that they were going to keep an eye on the fact that she was going to be jealous of her child, because she had to have all of the attention on her all of the time. And I do believe that that is going to be a problem in Gypsy's case, where people are going to want to talk about or see or ask about the baby. And it's going to be, I need it to be about me, me, me. Yeah, people are talking about the whole Santa thing. I get that. Didn't she go walking to the neighbors one night asking for a ride to go see Dan Glidewell when he was in the ER? I heard that. Dee Dee kept adding conditions to the story after they arrived. Rupanol is a Parkinson's medication. That's what Dee Dee's med was. It's the only med that started with rope in the tablet form. Any chance Gypsy knew that the gig was up because her mom was going to be sick? Her mom was already sick. No, she does not have a child. Her child was adopted. Dee Dee was already sick. Dee Dee had diabetes. Dee Dee was not okay. Dee Dee was not going to go chase Gypsy down. Okay. Dee Dee was not okay. By the time she died, she was very weak. She was frail. She was not going to go chase Gypsy around. And here's the deal. And this is what people cannot seem to understand. Gypsy could have, and she blames Nick. She's like, you know, she says it in a Dr. Phil interview, that she hates Nick because he should have been the responsible one. He should have called authorities. He should have got her out of there. What, bitch, why weren't you doing that stuff? Why were you not doing that stuff? Why were you not getting yourself out of there? She could have walked away at any time. She said on Dan's appeal that she was hoping that once she got to, when she went to Nick's appeal, when she was at Nick's appeal, she was saying that she was hoping that she could go to Nick's and just disappear, that she could just disappear and start over new. She could have done that. She could have done that. She could have left all of her phones, tracking devices, whatever at home. She could have literally packed a bag, took all of her identification, and left and disappeared. Her mom would not have known where she was going. Her mom would have no idea where to even look, where she was going. She could have absolutely walked her happy tail out of that house and disappeared as an adult and never been found. But she didn't. And she says that she did it because she was scared. Bullshit. Because if you listen in on that interrogation, according to her mom threw her out that night. Because her mom probably told her, just go do what you're going to do. Go. Just go. Rupanol is for RLS. So, why do you think she did it to begin with? First of all, she was tired of being the sick girl. She was tired of being put on display, even though she loved the attention. And she wanted to grow up. She wanted to be able to be with guys. She did it for Dick. Not Nick, Dick. She wanted to be able to go out and do and be normal, and her mom didn't want her to be normal. She wanted to go be with Nick. She wanted to go run away and whatever, and she wanted to be with Nick. She says she's not going to show her baby in social media, but she will. Okay, so where's all the blood that it doesn't add up? Okay, so here's the problem. And this is one thing that drives me crazy. So I got explained the dumbest answer to that. The dumbest answer to that. So, I'm sure you guys know how absorption rate works, and the fact that the neck alone, that whole entire bed should have been saturated. And people are like, well, it made it onto the sheets. I don't care. It should have soaked through the sheets, through the mattress topper, and onto the mattress. I don't think people understand how deep the wound was in the neck alone, let alone the 13 hesitation wounds, let alone the 14 ones that some went into organs, okay? So, and Dee Dee's nose was bleeding, okay? Because she had a broken nose that people didn't obviously ever know about. There should have been enough that it should have went through the sheets, through the topper, to the blanket. The topper barely has anything on it, and the whole mattress itself barely has anything on it. Barely has anything on it. And what I got told was there was cats, and they had to come get the cats. You guys know this. This is public knowledge. That there was cats that they had to come get. And I got told that the cats took care of the blood. The cats did. Yeah, he tried to get her to leave. He tried to get her to go and do the right thing. He tried. That wasn't going to work. If you look at the text message ones of my part 1 of text messages on Socratic method, you can see she wants it done, and she wants it done now. Dee Dee was becoming a burden with health issues, and she didn't want to be her mother's keeper. She didn't want to be saddled with that responsibility. After all, she did try getting her with the BB gun, and I think people forget that. She sits there on a stand and says, I could never hurt my mother. I could never do that to her. Bitch, you picked up a BB gun thinking it was a real gun. She says right in there, I didn't realize it was a BB gun. Yes, I am aware that I am not aware that it was a BB gun until afterwards. She knew she was going to do it then. So yes, and I actually have a screen. Side note here, I'm going to talk to her. By the way, this is the other person. This is the person that I was working with this is the person who has the file. This is where the original file came from of Dee Dee's crime scene. It is at the Good Wives Network Patreon. So am I aware that Sarah, Kendall, and Brandy did a live 2 hours ago discussing me, you, and Sarah Jane? Yes. I'm also aware that somebody put in there that I said that Brandy was the reason that Sarah was in a mental institution. I said that people in general. I didn't specifically say Brandy. I said people and bullying in general, and that Kendall and Brandy Kendall was on Brandy's live talking about what she did to Alicia. That's where Kendall and Brandy got put in. So, yeah. So it got they took both of my stories and just kind of combined them into some weird two-headed monster. So gravity will help it pull inside the body. Honey, did you see the neck? The neck alone should have been extinguishing value. That soap was in the bathtub. Would the pooling have happened from the way it would have been laying if it would happen in the tub? I don't think it happened in the tub. They would have tested the drain. They would have realized that a copious amount of blood had went on the drain. I don't think that's it at all. Yeah, the neck is awful. The neck alone should have been extinguishing value of. You guys have to understand. Okay, so he's sawing at this stuff, right? But he's hitting like he was like by carotids, the whole nine. It should have went up onto the ceiling. It should have went down into the bed. It should have been way more gruesome than what it was, and I still to this point cannot figure out why there was not more spatter everywhere else. Someone was literally sipping a cup of soda pop in the tub. Like, what the fuck? Because it was chill. And if you go and you read all the text messages leading up to what was going on, this was just another day at the park. They did not care. I mean, you have to remember after this happened, they were baking brownies and shagging. They didn't care what they had just done by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know if they were trying to dismember her or what. I mean, the way it was done is wild. I can't remember what year the BB gun incident happened, but it happened a couple years prior. They would still be able to tell how much is around the. They wouldn't be able to tell how much, but they'd be able to tell that there was a X amount of proportion based on the drain itself. Is it coated? Has it been coated? Test, luminol, etc. Yeah, she was full of giggles at the hotel, man. Full of giggles at the hotel, for sure. Gypsy was shaving everything and had her drink by the tub. That is not true, Camo. In the text that I show in part 2 on my social media, use Socratic method. Jesus. Gypsy was shaving her nether regions at about 8 o'clock at night while she, for some reason, she decided she was going to shave her legs while he was there, which makes no sense. But the other thing that I can't figure out is I'm not buying any of your bullshit until you fill out the form IC3. You want to sit here and cry on the internet with calling the FBI when it's a simple form? What? What? What are you talking about? What I want to know is this entire time she's texting Nick, and in Mommy Dad and Dear, she's talking about the fact that she was watching a movie with Dee Dee and doing their nails. And then she's asking Nick what color she should do her nails. And then she's just like, I did dark pink. How is she watching a movie with Dee Dee while texting with him the entire time if Dee Dee is so protective? How is she texting with him the entire time? There is not anything engraved. There's not a V engraved on Dee Dee. Those are freaking scratches, probably from a fucking cat. Okay, and I'm not even, that is, no. There's no V for Victor. There's none of that bullshit. Those are some freaking cat scratches. She went on Mommy Dead and Dearest in 2017 saying that she watched a movie. She had a whole night with her mom, and they were watching a movie, and they did each other's nails. Where was she doing that while she was texting Nick for hours on end nonstop when she's not supposed to have a phone and her mom's so controlling? How did she do that entire night? That entire night she was fucking texting him while they were watching a movie and doing each other's nails. Although she was asking Nick what color nails she should do. Make it make sense. I feel like she literally did Dee Dee's nails after the fact to give that story. Ooh, I just came up with that. I think she did Dee Dee's nails after, so she could do the whole we did each other nails story. She was asking Nick what color she should do her nails. He said red. She said, I'll do them dark pink. And then she came up with the whole, me and my mom did this whole movie and a date night and we did each other's nails. I think she did the nails after the fact. Now I'm standing by that. I think she did the nails after the fact. Yeah, it was weird that she asked what color they needed to do. He said red. She came up with dark pink, and then suddenly her mom's nails are dark pink too. Why was she asking him what color to do then? I know she didn't have red. I'm aware. I just said what you were just thinking. No, she asked him what color to do her nails. She said she was going to do them dark pink and that she was doing them. And when did she have time to do the movie with Dee Dee? When was there time to do the movie and the nails with Dee Dee? She was on the phone with Nick the entire time. I'm doing a video about this afterwards. By the way, at 10:18 p.m., I came up with that, Thea. So when you do a video and you try to copy me like you did the other night, just know that you heard it here first. She tried to take something I said on a live and she tried to spin it, but she couldn't figure out how to do it correctly. How about the laptop and the pillow next to the bed and the floor, just like any kid would do? I don't buy for 1 second. Her mom didn't know about the internet usage, 100%. And there was more. There was like 4 laptops. There was more than 1 laptop. There was like 4. It's a common to ask what color to do their nails in a BDS type relationship to let them have control. Right. But then her mom ended up with the same color nails. I wonder how it played on when Nick got there. She cried and he helped take care of it and take blame. And that's what he will take to the grave. There's a possibility that he absolutely did do things there. I'm not saying that. Oh, shit. Oh, I thought he was saying at work. Oh my gosh. Hold on. And one thing and people talk about this all the time, and this is something that Nick said. And I had it all written down at one point because he really mumbles. But he says, I apologize to everybody but Dan. I apologize to everybody but Dan. The fuck is that about? I still don't understand what that was about. Although Dan is the one that messaged her when her phone went off in interrogation. He was letting her know that the cops were there and whatever else. He was the one who texted her during the interrogation, and I got that from somebody who knows Gypsy. Tell me I'm wrong. Fucking try me. When Dee Dee was sleeping and then also said her mom was relaxed. I'm not dead yet. No, the I'm not dead yet was after a hug. She said that she had hugged her mom and her mom said, I'm not dead yet. The last thing she said to her was, don't hurt me. She also told Nick in text messages that her mom doesn't normally go into bed until 4 o'clock in the morning. But at 1:30, she was getting sleepy from her medication. But she normally goes to bed at 4 a.m. Said it right in the text messages. My mom normally goes to bed at 4 a.m. But at 1:30, she was getting sleepy from her medication. I think she dosed her. Why was she taking sleepy time medication that early, getting tired that early when she literally goes to bed at 4? Did she dose her so that she was sleeping when he got there? I don't know. It's fucking weird though. I just came across the whole she went to bed at 4 o'clock when I was showing you guys them text messages. And then yet she's getting tired from her medication at 1:37. No way Dee Dee watched her. If my kid had that lingerie lined up in a drawer, I'd notice. We have theories about the lingerie. We have theories about the lingerie. There's a rumor that goes around that she was actually some type of a webcam girl and that her mom may have known about it. And that was another way that they grifted money. That is a theory that has been floated, that it goes around. I don't have any proof of that. Stands for the fact that according to the messages, they had bondage tape. She had lingerie, and there was what looked to be a weird little studio in their shed. A weird little studio with a toddler bed in her shed with a light and everything, where, there was numerous laptops, numerous phones. There was wigs. She had gear. She had lots of gear. How is it that her mom never noticed any of that? She probably did. The pictures of her and all that, those were taken in the living room. You can see the light box. Those were taken in the living room. I'm pretty sure her mom had some idea of the shit she was doing. How could Ryan and Ken have sex with that sicko after seeing her laughing and giggling, describing what her and Nick were doing sexually after unaliving her mother. I don't know, second chances. Ryan wrote to her in prison after he saw her stuff. You got to question that, dude. He watches documentaries and was like, that's the one for me. You write Tiger King, I'll write the mom killer. Like, he literally wrote her after he saw a documentary about how he did that to her. Ken wrote to her too. I don't know what's alluring about that. I have no idea. Somebody wrote in a comment in my thing that was so funny. Gypsy was so tired being tied to the bed that she ran away to Dan's and went to a hospital and got tied to a bed. I'm not saying she got tied to a bed, but it was funny. They were like, she ran from one bed to another. Who took the pictures? I'm going to assume a selfie stick of some kind. God, I would hope. I didn't even think about that. They don't look like a selfie stick, but I'm not sure. Because the type of phone it was back then wasn't really a smartphone. You can tell that the phone that she had, according to the text messages, was a flip phone. How'd she get those pictures? I mean, yeah, there's a selfie stick. She could have selfie sticked them, I guess. Is that a word, selfie sticked? Could she do that, do you think? Those are not webcam quality. That is not 2015 webcam. I'm on a 2024 webcam. Come on. The quality is not there. I don't know if they're getting money out of them. There was all sorts of checks, uncashed checks in that safe. Miranda Lambert gave her one for $5,000. Don't ask me fucking why, but there was one in there. Allegedly from Miranda Lambert. There was nothing that she could do about it. She was over 18, 100%. She took the pictures with a laptop camera, maybe. I still want to know how she ate gumbo on Thanksgiving through the feeding tube. She can eat normally. She eats normally. She can eat normally. You can eat normally. I have known mothers who take spicy photos of their adult children. It isn't unheard of in unhealthy family relationships. Yeah, I mean, it could have been done with a laptop. You know, it could have, absolutely. But she had a lot of gear for somebody whose parent doesn't pay attention to them. I mean, whose parent pays too much attention to them. According to her mom knew everything she did, but she was texting men constantly. She was texting him on the laptop, texting on the phone. She had time to dress up in wigs. She had time to dress up in lingerie. She had a lot of time to do a lot of things. So Dee Dee was not nearly the control freak that she tries to say that. How did she buy the gear? I mean, Amazon wasn't really delivering back then. It was 2015. I'm not saying they didn't deliver, but I mean, let's look. When did Amazon become a thing? How did she get the gear? They always said she stole it. How'd she get to those type of stores though? Oh wait, she had a bus pass. So she bus passed herself. She said she loved to steal things. That's how she stole baby clothes, etc. She tried, and now, by the way, don't forget plan A, plan B, plan C. Plan A, they could run away. Plan B, well, actually, the plans were numbered wrong, but that they were going to have a baby. And when Nick decided he didn't want to have a baby, they decided to offer. She was on him to have a baby. He decided he did not want to have a baby. So she said, well, then she's got to go. There was a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And one of those plans was for her and Nick to have a baby. And when he said no, then it turned to, well, then we got to do my mom. And you can see those plans in Nick's appeal video when she's on the stand. Okay, so Amazon has been delivering packages since 2005. Until 2014, they relied on third-party characters. So, I mean, there was Amazon using what card? I don't know, maybe Dee Dee's. Another thing is you have to understand that when she says on Nick's appeal that she had stolen from her mother on 2 occasions, once to get him down for him to do what he did, and once for him to come down to meet her for the movie theater, right? Well, later on in March, there was a police report that was taken about a theft of money in the residence. And you think Dee Dee didn't find out about that shit? You think they didn't fight about that shit? Gypsy was talking about the fact that they were having arguments. Gypsy puts right in her interrogation that they were having arguments. She stole that money in March. There was a police report put in March about money that was missing. You think Dee Dee she didn't either find out or know that Gypsy did it, that they weren't arguing about the fact that she was spending money on dudes? Let's see. Yeah, they didn't do the door-to-door delivery. They didn't do that. And you think her mom isn't going to notice a bunch of packages for her? Like, are you serious? Then he named a fake baby when she said she was pregnant and said Dee Dee made her lose it changing the feeding tube. Yeah. I don't know if he named it, but she said that she was pregnant and she lost the baby because of the feeding tube. Yeah. She did. She tried telling him that she was pregnant. And that was part of what got her. I think that's what part of solidified in his mind, and I can't guess. But I'm going to say that's part of what solidified. First Dee Dee won't let him have Gypsy. And then because of Dee Dee and the feeding tube, he lost his child. Her mom and her what? Gypsy said in the deposition for Nick's appeal that she had stolen money for him to go down there both times. And both times she said it was about $1,000. And then there was a police report that said that there was money stolen. And they tried to blame it on some poor disabled girl down the street. They tried to blame it on her. And because they had a key to the house or whatever. And they tried to blame it on her. When in actuality, Gypsy fucking did it. How did her mom lose the baby through the feeding tube? That's the lie that she fed Nick. Don't ask me, but that's the lie she told Nick. Maybe Dee Dee didn't want the relationship because it would ruin the people about the sickness. Very possibly. I think Dee Dee's meal ticket was about to run out, and she was putting pressure on Gypsy to stay in, and Gypsy didn't want to stay in. Is there any new updates or drama GRB related today? I have not been online to know what is new or whatever. I have no idea. She had a lot of freedom for someone who was being controlled. 100%. She had a bus pass. People said that they saw her on the bus all the time. She had a bus pass. She did whatever the hell she wanted. She had a cell phone. She did whatever the hell she wanted. She had a laptop. She did whatever the hell she wanted. Why did they have checks that weren't cashed? I don't know. There was an obscene amount of money that was not cashed in checks in that freaking safe. I don't know why they didn't cash them. I have no idea. But there was checks in that safe that were not cashed. Thousands and thousands of dollars worth. And then Gypsy and him stole, I think it was $4,400 or something they found on them, which they stole more, obviously. And then there was a bunch of other stuff that had happened. She is trying to hook everyone for having a baby, 100%. If her mom was controlling her, how could she do all those things? She couldn't. Do you know if the neighbor girl that Gypsy hung out with, do they still talk? Not that I'm aware of, because she literally called the girl a bully. Her name was Aaliyah. And she even told the cops, she's like, Aaliyah bullies me. But yeah, Aaliyah was her like best friend. Dee Dee was fundraising for another trip before the murder. That may have been why she was saving the checks. Maybe. Didn't she tell Nick that her mom would have been committed to the psych ward if she tried to leave? He didn't know how difficult that is, especially for any length of time. Yeah, there was a lot of things. People went on and on because supposedly there was a power of attorney. There was never a power of attorney. And even then, she did not have conservatorship. She did not have a conservatorship, ever. She never had a conservatorship. I know about conservatorships. I put one over my daughter, and then I took it the fuck off. You're on the handle in a conservatorship, FYI. And my kid decided to go run around the city doing God knows fucking what when she went homeless, and I'm like, I'm out. Now I could have had cops bring her home, but I wasn't dealing with that. So I know all about conservatorships, and there was no conservative that was ever filed for Gypsy against or for from Dee Dee to Gypsy that would have ever made her have to come back. There was no conservatorship. Yeah, you remember seeing a picture of a check from Miranda Lambert lying on the floor after the, yeah. There was never a power of attorney, no. And power of attorney doesn't matter. You have to have a conservatorship. She was over 18 years old. Over 18 years old, you have to have a conservatorship to put someone into a mental hospital. There has to be a conservatorship. Otherwise, they have to be put in third party by police, by doctors, by whatever. In order to actually get somebody in there, keep them in there, there has to be a conservatorship where you are their medical person. A power of attorney only goes so far. Power of attorney was never actually filed. They talked about it. They talked about it in the act, yada, yada, yada. There was never one filed. There was never one that was there. And there was damn sure never a conservatorship. Would you know if somebody had one? Yes. Yes, you do know. My daughter absolutely knew that there was a conservatorship being placed. You guys have to understand what goes into a conservatorship. Okay, so a conservatorship, you have to go get a bunch of medical records on the person, right? After you do that, however, there is a court hearing to deem them mentally unwell enough that you are then put as a conservatorship. That is done through the state. The state holds a jury session with a doctor that you pay for, but they're choosing. And then the jury trial, the judge, etc., decides whether that person is deemed unfit enough to have a conservatorship. I cut mine before the damn doctor got involved. Not for any other reason than my kid was running around Lexington doing God knows what, and I was not being held legally responsible. Fuck that. You got your cat back today? Oh, I'm so glad, Tara. He's home. Do you know why Dee Dee's family didn't clean the house, but Christy's did? Well, I mean, I know Dee Dee's family was very upset with her. And I know that, Rod and them, they were there. They came in and cleaned it and whatever. And, so I know the family was very upset with the whole situation, as well they should be. I cannot remember the exact reasoning she told me as to why they were doing it. I wish I could. I know it was talked about, but I don't remember exactly what it was, and I don't want to put out there something that I don't remember correctly. Would I want to? No. No. Do you know if the Blanchards and the Petries are friendly with each other? I know that the Blanchards do speak to some Petries. They do speak to some Petries. He's on the shelf. I made him with his picture and did his footprint for me. Yay! I haven't got mine back yet. I'm going to call tomorrow. This is Wednesday. I don't know why mine's not back yet. So I'm hoping I'm going to call tomorrow and find out what's going on. Because they told me he'd be back like Monday or Tuesday, and I'm calling tomorrow. I'd say Rod and Christy cleaned it out with Gypsy's approval since she was next to kin. I mean, that's a very big possibility. That's a big possibility. I don't know how much I would have wanted to do it. But then again, Rod and Christy were a lot more involved with Gypsy than they like to admit. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of pictures of Rod and Gypsy. Lots of pictures. So they were around more than what people think. Do you think we'll ever fully know what happened that night? Unless somebody does a memoir called If I Did It, OJ. I don't think so. Unless Nick decides that his secret he's taking to the grave is something that's going to shed light on anything. I don't think we're ever going to know. Ever. Gypsy knew what she was doing. That thermostat was set. Low to slow decomp so that she could get away for 3 days. That thermostat, according to the first responder that was there, who Fancy had interviewed, the first responder that was there said that that thermostat was set very low, and there was a portion of girls in the prison that said that Gypsy admitted to the thermostat being on very low. She was trying to slow decomp, trying to throw it off. I wonder if Nick finds out about Gypsy's pregnancy, if he will talk. I don't know. Or Dan talks. Dan's trying to be head. I'm not even going to go into that whole Dan thing, man. I'm not even going to go. I've heard Bree has tried to sell me on her Dan. Fancy's trying to sell me on her Dan. I know which Dan I think it is. But it's very simple. Dan could not leave to go to Arkansas, apparently, supposedly, allegedly, because he was on parole in Missouri. And that in one of the shows, I think it was Prison Confessions, she talks about the fact that something about Dan, something about parole, something about Dan being in trouble, or something to that effect. Something about parole, something about whatever. I don't know. I didn't see it. I've just been told about it numerous times. What I got to know, very simply, is both Dans lived in both Missouri and Arkansas. Both Dans lived in both Missouri and Arkansas. Now, Bree will tell you that the one never lived in Missouri. Yes, he did. So he was stuck there on parole. Both Dans lived in Missouri. Both Dans lived in Arkansas. How do I know? I background checked without background checking. I found a background check enough that I didn't have to pay for it. But I have a person who's going to be running extensive background reports on both of them, because I'm going to find out which one has a conviction. And that'll set it straight to rest. And as for, Gypsy said he was 35. Maybe Dan lied to her. Maybe Gypsy lied about it. I don't know. The Dans are 3 years apart. Now, I know the other story that I've been told about, but I know somebody who knows somebody, and they know things that only Dan would know, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not sold. I'm just not sold. I'm not sold. Yes, there's two Dans. What if the murder was a family effort by all the Blanchards? No. So, okay, so there's two Dans right now. So me and Fancy were talking about the Dan, the Dan that most people know as Dan, that Fancy put out there, the guy with a bunch of convictions, a bunch of mug shots. And it fits because Gypsy was talking about Dan being on parole or being in trouble or something. I don't know. Somebody find me the clip. Can somebody find me the clip from fucking the Prison Confessions or whatever, where she talks about Dan? Can somebody please send that to my Instagram? Please, for the love of Christ, please. But so Fancy has put out for a long time that it's this Dan. Well, when things settle down, yada, 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 Bree starts saying, that's not the right Dan. This is the right Dan. And now Bree's Dan does go with the actual time frame that Gypsy said of he was 35. If you add it together, he would be what this Dan is. However, Dan could have literally shaved a couple years off to be more appealing to the only 18-year-old Gypsy. I'm 35. I'm not really 38. Or Gypsy could have fucking rounded down. We don't know. I'm not going to base the fact of there's a 3-year difference on the Dans and the 3 years adds up when we have people who are known to lie. Both Dans lived in Missouri. Both Dans lived in Arkansas. So I don't know which one it is. And until somebody finds me the fucking clip, because I don't know where it is, of her saying this, to say whether or not to look for some type of conviction, that's the only way. Because supposedly Bree's Dan is on the DL. He's made a Facebook where he has a different name and he doesn't want to be bothered with it and yada, yada, yada. And the other Dan has been arrested numerous times. I have his entire file. And as for the rumor that Dan was in prison when it happened, no, he was not. If it is the one that Fancy says it is, the one that I think it is, but whatever, I can be proved wrong. He was not in jail. There was an incident March 2nd where he was found to have drugs on him. And if you look in CaseNet, he was in jail for 59 days. I have the actual, I don't have just CaseNet. I have the paperwork, like the written out stamped paperwork. I have copies of it. Okay. An incident happened March 2nd or March 3rd where he was found to have drugs on him. He was supposed to serve 10 to 15 years. And it says he served 59 days. 59 days goes to April 29th. There's paperwork on April 29th where he gets out. He was on parole. He was on parole, but he was not in prison. It says right on CaseNet, he served 59 days. And 59 days goes from the day that he was caught with it to the day on April 29th where there was more papers filed. So if it is that Dan, he was not in jail by any stretch of the imagination. He was out. He was on parole. And he should have been in jail. But he was on parole. If it is that Dan. If it's Bree's Dan, completely different. If Bree's right about Dan being known to them and having a Facebook under a different name, maybe that's why Ryan Anderson said Ken isn't the only ex she keeps in touch with. Maybe. Who knows? Do I believe that she was a victim of Munchausen by proxy? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. She has a chromosome deletion. She does have issues. Dee Dee was a first-time mom. Dee Dee was looking into doing all the things she needed to do. Dee Dee did con people for free shit. I do not believe that she had Munchausen by proxy. And nor did Gypsy even realize what the fuck was going on until it got fed to her, the fucking Munchausen by proxy. She had no fucking clue. No fucking clue. In the crime scene, was that baby powder spilled on the safe? Yes. So Dee Dee was a person, it's hot, she's big, and she used baby powder. So there's baby powder all over that room. That is absolutely baby powder, yes. I think if the Dan character was involved, there wouldn't have been any money or checks left behind. Well, there's some theory they were left behind for a reason. Do you think she was complicit in pretending she was sick? Absolutely. 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 At that point, she was, a late teenager to an adult. She was getting free shit. She was going to see Harry Potter. She was going to Disney. And like with it started, in my opinion, it started when she was younger and didn't want to do it. And they said, but Gypsy, if you do that, people will feel bad and you'll go to Disney. She got hooked on it. She got hooked on it just like Dee Dee did. And then she ended up helping. And I think she got sick of helping. And I think she wanted out. And I think she wanted to go get some dick. And I think that's where it all boiled down to. But are both Dan's convicted felons? And if so, if she's keeping in touch, wouldn't that be violating her parole terms? Ooh. Now, the Dan that Fancy says is a felon. He's got felonies. That would be, yes. Why do you think she wanted out? And why do you think she felt like unaliving her mom was the only way? Because she was never like control. She never likes the word no. What about the neighbors, though, saying that she was sick because they didn't know any better? What about them? Their windows were blacked out, dude. Their windows were blacked out. They were hiding. You couldn't get a wheelchair through that place if you had to. Do I think that Dee Dee was somewhere else and then put in bed? Do you think she was alive when he got there? I do have a theory that she was alive, clinging to life when Nick got there. That's my personal theory. I talk about it on my page, and I showed you the dramatization. And do I think she was somewhere else and then put in bed? There is a very big lack of blood. I know that Nick says that that's not how it went. But Nick is not helping himself out at all with these fucking videos. But there's not a lot of blood, and I feel like there is a possibility. Did anyone look up the criteria? Yes. So the chromosome deletion has things like eye problems, high palate, which makes a higher voice, muscle weakness, possible failure to thrive, causing a feeding tube, short stature. Sound like anybody you know? And they've admitted that she has it. And they found out in 2011, shockingly, when they stopped going to doctors. Was, yes. Yes. Miss. What do you think explains the lack of blood? It not happening there. I don't know. I have no idea. There should have been way more. I think the neighbors didn't want to admit they knew in the lie because they could get in trouble for not knowing and reporting. I think a lot of people are just, if it don't involve me, I'm staying out of it type deal. Do I listen to any true crime podcasts? No, I can't stand listening to people talk. I don't know how you guys do it. The creepy tongue thing she does. I think she got that from Ryan. I'm not sure. Look, okay, so why didn't they look into that? The lack of blood. Here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. We don't know what they looked into because guess what? There was never a motherfucking trial. She was being on the hook for first degree, y'all. We don't know what they looked into. We don't know what they have. We don't know fucking nothing. We don't know fucking nothing. And as for Nick's attorney, we all saw Nick's attorney didn't do shit. He did get a fucked up trial, okay? And he does need a new one. He does still need to stay in prison, but he does need a new one. We don't know what they had. They were building a case of first degree on her. And they gave her second degree because it's all this bullshit about Munchausen came out. And before they could actually, I don't know, look into it, they offered her a fucking second degree plea. Any theories where it happened? She's pretty heavy. I've never actually thought about it that far. Look up MVP. Do you see? Where does it fit? No, because she didn't doctor shop. Somebody's putting out there that Dee Dee doctor shopped. Dee Dee had the same doctor in Missouri that she had in Louisiana, and they were getting ready to follow the motherfucker to Florida. That doctor she had in 2 different states. She did not doctor shop. That is one of the key components of MVP. And she did malingering. She did it for profit. That's another thing. MVP is about getting the hero status. She did it for profit. That is not Munchausen by proxy. That is malingering, which is exploiting someone's sickness for a profit. She doesn't even fit Munchausen by proxy by the definition of what was Munchausen by proxy. Parole can give Gypsy permission to live if they want to. I wonder why they don't and why Ken would move to Louisiana. I don't know what the thing is with that. I don't know. My husband says you're red. I think it's just the lighting. That and I just get really red sometimes. I'm passionate, people. I'm Irish. What do you want from me? I turn red. The Gypsy filter is hilarious. I don't think so. I think it's bullying behavior. I'm not behind the Gypsy filter. What if in her 31 minutes, her and Dan were putting Dee Dee in bed? I think she was handcuffed somewhere else. There was not any type of ligature mark on her that I could see. There was no type of ligature mark, even for handcuffs. The thing is Dan has been pulled into question because there was tire tracks in the yard that they could not put anywhere. There was a cigarette butt that was taken for evidence that they freaking never tested. That Dan smoked. I'm blushing. I feel like secretly Christy's got to be scared to live with her. Yeah, she really did gaslight him into thinking Ken was just a friend. She really did. Look at her wrists in the photos. I don't know. I feel like that would have been brought up in Nick's trial, that there was ligature marks on her wrist, but I don't know. There was a cigarette test and a cigarette, but as far as I am aware, it was never tested. As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong. The only handcuffs were with Gypsy at the arrest. Yeah, I know they had handcuffs and all that. I know that. I think Christy is scared. That's why she kisses ass with Gypsy. I don't know. Maybe. Can you explain better about the lividity in the blood? Wouldn't it go diagonal? Does it have something to do with the position she was in during the murder? Yes. So lividity, I'm going to try to do this the best I can without, I'm not an expert, okay? But I've been doing true crime since I was 16 years old. And the problem is lividity is where the body lands. So, okay, so if I'm on my back, there's going to be like lividity on my back. It's where the blood pools and settles. So if I'm on my side, there's going to be lividity on my arm because that's where all the blood is. The blood is pooling down. Okay, so it's going to cause discoloration. So if you're on your side, you're going to have lividity on your arm and on your leg because you have lividity because the blood is pooling in your skin, and so it's darkening your skin. The lividity in the photos, however, is there is lividity on the upper part of this arm, and there is lividity on the lower thigh of the other side. And I am trying to figure out, to me, and again, I am no professional, but to me, that seems like blood had started to pool here and cause discoloration, and then blood was pooled here, causing the discoloration. I feel like either the body was moved halfway through, or I cannot figure out for the I've tried. For real, I've tried. I don't understand how lividity could be on two separate. If it was on this side and this, whatever, it is on top here, bottom here. It just doesn't make sense. She slept on her stomach, so would it have been her face, stomach? You would think, but then I also got to ask you, as she says, Dee Dee slept on her stomach, but her nose was visibly broken, not smashed, broken. There was a cut across her nose, like she'd been punched. There's not a smush broken. There's a cut, a real nice cut down her nose. Type cut. So it wasn't the fact she was just smushed in there and it broke. Okay, so I read that she had cigarette burn holes and ashes on her back. I've been hearing this. It's been a second since I've looked at this, to be honest. It's been a second since I've looked at them, but I believe, and I think I need to go back and look because people keep asking me about cigarette burns. I don't remember there being cigarette burns, and a lot of the ashes on her back were dried flaked blood. I know that I saw dried flaked blood. I'm gonna have to go back and look because people are talking about cigarette burns. I don't remember them. There wasn't, because there were cigarettes at the crime scene. Did the shed have any blood? No. I want to know what pattern matches the discoloration on Dee Dee's leg because it's not the blanket. That's absolutely correct. There's a pattern on her leg that does not match the blanket. That is true. Okay, so Gypsy, in my opinion, I don't really feel like Gypsy had like massively bruised knuckles. I feel like maybe there was just some discoloration. I mean, hell, in the right light, you can look like look at me, for Christ's sake. I mean, I don't know. To me, there wasn't massive discoloration, but not in the, like, when you punch somebody, it's going to be pretty bad. Right. And that, while it was 4 days after, there was lots of healing time. I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true. I'll give you that. It was 4 days. There could have been a lot of, yeah, I'll give you that. So you think it was her mattress? You can see when they take everything off the mattress. Okay, so then, okay. But Brittany, if it's the mattress, the nose does look fresh. Matter of fact, it looks fresh. I pointed that out when I was on the live with Fancy when we were discussing this. If it was her mattress, however, Brittany, that would be weird because there was a topper on top of the mattress that had little to no blood. The mattress had little to no blood. So then how would a imprint of the mattress get onto her thigh unless I'm going to throw a theory out here, and I know a lot of you are going to love it. Unless there was a tarp of some kind where the weight pushed down enough to have some type of an imprint, which then also would take care of the fact that there was no blood. However, Nick, stupidly, in his last video, made a point to say that there was no tarp. Yeah. Rapport, sorry. Well, yeah, I said earlier camaraderie. You're right. It's a rapport. A lot of times I use the wrong word because my brain goes faster than my mouth. And my mouth goes faster than my brain, my bad. Yeah, not camaraderie. I mean, it could be camaraderie to a sense, but yeah, rapport. They could have flipped over the mattress. They would have checked that, honey. A waterproof mattress cover. That's interesting. So yes, so Nick said 4 stabs. Now he says the one that he said that was like maybe possibly the kill shot apparently went into an organ, is an organ or through the ribs or whatever. And the other thing you have to understand is there was 4 stabs that he did, but the neck wound alone would have had extenuation value. The neck was I mean, it was cut. And that alone should have been extenuation value, in my opinion. In my opinion. Through a waterproof mattress cover, there may not be stains. There may not be stains. Maybe the tarp was removed before he got there. Again, Nick swears that there was not a tarp. According to the videos he's allowing his fucked up people to put out. That is not going to help him in an appeal. I really suggest you stop doing that, because I'm pretty sure that at least one of y'all's in here. You are not helping him. Him saying, well, I think I would know if I was being played. I think I would know if she was gone or about to be gone when I got there. Not smart. Not smart. Even if it's true, not smart. He is still under appeal, and you are not helping him. Period. And I still want to know why he said he would not apologize to Dan. Why did Dan even be brought up? Why was Dan even brought up? That don't even make sense. I know that Gypsy was planning on meeting Dan to basically say goodbye type deal. And he texted her, you could see her look down. He did text her to say that they had whatever, there was news coverage or whatever. And that was from somebody who's close to Gypsy. So I don't want you to go to work either, Sam. Call off. I'm kidding. Why didn't they ask Dan? Or did they call in Dan? I don't know. I never looked that deep into it. Did they ever call Dan in? I'm sure they did. But we don't ever hear anything about that. We don't ever hear anything about that. Like, you'd think that they would have had to call Dan in. You would think. Maybe not. Maybe not. What was the point of them trying to clean up the crime scene? Well, because they did something, because there's not enough there. There's not enough there. They did something. Why didn't they ask Nick why he said that? He mumbled it when they were out of the room. There's a portion where he is mumbling to himself, and at one point I wrote down everything that he mumbled, because I'm not kidding. When he's mumbling, you got to literally do this to hear what the hell he's saying. But he says very clearly, I'll apologize to everybody, but I won't apologize to Dan. And he said something about going with her. She said something about going with him. And I don't know if he meant her going with Nick or her going with Dan or whatever, but he says something along the lines of, I'm gonna do what I did last time. I'm gonna have to do what I did last time. Yeah, my husband wants to come home from work. He has been stuck in a traffic jam this entire time. Right. So the plea deal had to do with the prosecuting attorney, because it was election time. It was election time. And that always, trust me, elections always play a part in getting cases solved to make your account make your count go up. That was another win. So that makes sense. Yes. So you heard something about him saying she went with him and left me to take care of it. Yes. There's something like that. Yes. There is. Yep. I'm going to go. I'm going to do a video of it. of his mumbling. If I can get it to pick up. I got to see if I can get it to pick up. So there was, according to different affidavits, according to different, when he puts in an appeal, I think it always says 14, but I thought I saw 17 somewhere, and I said I read that somewhere. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I believe most of them said 14 and one said 17. He said he did 4. Now, supposedly, I had heard it go around that he said something about he may have done something later to the fact, but those wounds were darker. They were whatever they were done before. Just looking at them, they were done before. Because they wouldn't have bled if he had done them after the fact. Dead bodies do not bleed. They're done. After they're done, after the heart stops, there's nothing pumping. Those beginning wounds bled. The heart was pumping. Do you think the wound sawing of the neck was a different knife? So there's been a lot of what about that, and apparently the knife that was used was both serrated and flat. So where they could have cut, because it was cut very cleanly. It was not used with a serrated. But from what I'm told, the knife was partially serrated and partially not serrated, and they would have used the not serrated portion for that like surgical cut. I've also heard there was 2 knives. Yeah, he said 4 actual stabs and maybe some other small cuts. I think he was, I don't think so. I don't know. I'm just saying personally. The way that they just look older. I know a family member of, I believe it was Nick's, supposedly, put out there that she stole 2 of the same knife. But that still wouldn't have helped anything if it was the same knife for the neck. It wouldn't have helped because it was still the same type of knife. It was still serrated here and not serrated here. Also, I have to laugh in a sick, sardonic kind of way that she said that she wanted her to go peacefully. She didn't want to do anything that was. That's like the most gruesome way you can think of, dude. She literally could have just OD'd her with insulin. And nobody would have thought anything. They would have thought she died in her sleep. She literally could have just OD'd her with insulin. Was it her family? I've heard a lot of things all over the place, so they start to get kind of confuddled in my head as to what they are and what they mean, and if they're true or not. So 2 knives and 2 Dans. There's only one Dan. But there is a argument as to the fact that there's 2 Dan Glidewells. There is a name, Dan D. Glidewell, fancies Dan, and the one I tend to lean towards, and Dan T. Glidewell, which is the one that Bree falls towards. They're 3 years apart, and the 3-year discrepancy, if it's accurate, falls with Bree's. If they rounded down or somebody lied, then Fancies is back in. They both lived in Missouri and Arkansas, so that makes it even worse because there's 2 Dans with the same name that both lived in both states. No, Christy did not help. What Fancy was getting at is she helped cover up the crime scene. When they went in there to clean up, I guess supposedly, maybe in her mind, she thinks that she helped to cover something up that maybe could have been found, I guess. If anyone here wants to take me out, give me, hey, pills can be pretty bad though. They can be pretty bad. Was there a report that said due to some of the trauma, the body happened days before she passed? A video talking about it. I've heard and seen that theory. And it basically has a lot to do with the hesitation wounds. I don't think it was necessarily days before. I think it was hours before, personally. So Comic-Con Dan, again, is why there's 2 of them. Now, I will tell you, I saw a photo. Granted, it was blurred. Granted, it was blurred, but there is a video or a picture of Dan with who they say, or of Gypsy with who they say is Dan. And yes, it is blurred, but through the blur, it does look like Fancy's Dan, not Bree's Dan. So the problem is when you look up the transcripts of Dan's testimony at Nick's trial, they call Dan to the stand, but they don't actually say his middle initial, because that doesn't really happen a lot in court. They'll say your first name and your last name, but they didn't actually come out and say whether it was a D or a T. Yes, so Bree put a picture of her Dan in one of the lives like a month or so back, and again, I'm still standing on the fact that those pictures look entirely too young to be a 35-year-old man. And as she tried to explain it to me, and I'm standing on this, those pictures looked entirely too young. Period. So is that not no? So this was Nick's appeal, and on Nick's appeal, Dan showed up and Gypsy showed up, and there is a you can actually get where it's essentially the transcript without it being an official transcript, but a transcript of what happened. And Dan went on in Nick's appeal to say that he had met Gypsy. Gypsy introduced Dan to the multiple personas. Dan says Gypsy told him about the multiple personas. It was a thing that she introduced him to. She introduced him to the BDSM. She's tried to pin it on Nick this entire time, and that she had personas to match Nick's, yada, yada, yada. But Dan says that it started with him. I remember there was something about a prescription pad and Christy finding it at the house. So let's talk about that. I was going to bring it up, but I'm not. And then you did, so I guess I will. So Christy swears that there was a prescription pad. And that is something that is damning towards Dee Dee, because if there was a prescription pad, then she could have been getting extra meds, yada, yada, yada. So according to her, she did find a prescription pad. But then again, that looks really bad on Dee Dee. So to me, I'm taking it with a grain of fucking salt. Right. But you have to remember, the act is Hollywood. They added things in there that didn't even, don't ask me what they were, because there was things and I don't remember what they are now because I'm being put on the spot. But the act was not supposedly completely accurate. So it was one of those, based off of a true story, where they take a story and they base most of it, and it's not, otherwise it would be a documentary. So because based means they are basing it off of there, and they're going to do as much as they can, but they can't say that it is like it would have been a documentary. It was like a dramatization. This is what we want to put out there. The Hollywood spin. They're going off of testimonies, interrogations, etc. But again, because it was never tried and true, because there was never no trial to put anything into evidence to say this is fact, they can only go off of what Gypsy says, what Nick says, what yada yada, what anybody says. But there was never any evidentiary fact, because when they decided to not try Gypsy, any evidence they had never came to light, because we can't request evidence. There was no trial. Do we know if there was any signs of SA, or would that be in the autopsy only? Okay, so it would be in the autopsy. And the interrogator asked him numerous times to a point that it was strange. Now, one of the things was a big reason that they thought there was SA is because he talked about the fact he wanted her body. And then that Gypsy said, I let him do it to me instead of her. And the fact that she was found with absolutely no underwear on. So there's a lot of reasons why people think that this may have happened. But unless they did not talk about it, as far as I'm aware, in Nick's trial, which you'd think if there was, they would have tried to nail him with that. So I don't know. Supposedly the pad was given into evidence. Supposedly, I think. When you do a plea deal, you have to be honest with your testimony. She wasn't honest about anything. Can't she get in trouble for that? You'd think. He's under appeal. He needs to zip it 100,000%, but he's not. Well, all you have to do is write a freaking name on there. I mean, a name of a pill or whatever. I mean, I don't know. My jury is out on the prescription pad because until I see it, I mean, supposedly, no, there couldn't have been a picture of it because she found it after the fact underneath the bed when she was cleaning everything out. And she could have just slept with no panties, 100%. But that also gives credence to the fact that he said he wanted to. So that's why people are like, sleeps naked with a prayer cloth. That is a little weird, not gonna lie. She's not wearing, underwear, but she sleeps with a prayer cloth. That's a little odd, but I mean, stranger things have happened. The strip of cloth that was underneath her that people are saying, was it a binding agent? Did they use that to bind her? Her family has come out and said that she slept with a prayer cloth. It's very, very common in different portions of reality. I believe she was Protestant, or I believe she was Protestant. Anyway, she slept with what's called a prayer cloth. And that's what was underneath her. That's what the strip of cloth was. It was like a cloth. It had kind of deteriorated over time. And it was a cloth that was kind of like part blanket, part cloth. And she slept with it all the time. Yeah, there's a reason for doctors having bad handwriting. So it can't be, so it can't be forged, Catholic was a Catholic. Okay, my bad. Look, they're all the same to me. I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie. Is there possible for new evidence to come out? I mean, yeah. You got hit with she was religious and she slept with a prayer cloth. Her family all came out and said that she slept with a prayer cloth. Gypsy sold her mom's soul for money and fame. Yeah, she's part of the Illuminati. I have a whole theory on that. Anyway. Was there a third person that was involved? It seems like there was more than a 2-person job. If you were to believe Candace Starr's Spirit Box video, she asked if Dan was there and if Dan had hurt her, and the bear went off. There was tire tracks at the scene that cannot be accounted for. There was cigarette butts at the scene that cannot be accounted for. So if you take all that, I don't know, maybe. I don't know, maybe. Again, okay, I'm just going to throw this out here. Good night, Tara. I'm so glad you got your cat back. Again, I'm just going to throw this out here because I'm a conspiracy theorist. But, she did do the sacrificial lamb and she did get famous and she did get money and fortune and fame. I'm just going to throw that out there, just saying. Kind of laughing, kind of not. I pointed out that the timeline doesn't match. I seen on TikTok the part 2, the messages, and I agree. Do you know when the last text was? 131, I think. 130 something. I'd have to look. Honestly, I don't want to tell you. I don't want to give you the exact time, but he said, I'm here. He was dropped off, according to the cab he had gotten in the cab or got dropped off at 2:08. It was either he got in the cab or he got dropped off at 2:08. And he said something like, I'm here, get your ass in the bathroom now or something. Since Gypsy didn't have a trial, would evidence that wasn't seen be considered new? I'm not a legal expert. Why would Nick cover for Dan? Because he loved Gypsy. I don't know. Did Gypsy or Nick smoke? Not that I'm aware of. 133 Starwing says. I hope I get him back soon too, because I'm calling tomorrow to find out what's going on, because they should have called me today. So do they know when she was unalive? They only, I mean, from what I understand, I don't know if they couldn't really check because the thermostat had been turned down and it had been 3 days. So even it would be hard to nail it down necessarily between, I mean, they gave a window. They said they think it's a 10th, but they're also going off of what Gypsy and Nick said. The thermostat had been turned down, which that was going to fuck with decomp to begin with. She was there for 3 days. So, I mean, you're not going to get a to the minute exact science because the thermostat was down, which is going to fuck with decomp. Do you know there's always a little bit of truth in every lie? What if Dee Dee wasn't the one who put a voodoo curse on her? And what if Gypsy put one on her? Because of what was supposedly in the jar. Okay, we're going to talk about that for a hot second. Just a hot second. And if anybody in here knows what I'm talking about, they'll know. But the components in that jar, first of all, menstrual blood is a beckoning agent, which beckons love. Okay, it beckons love. It doesn't turn it away. A cow's tongue is to symbolize silence. It's to silence someone. A picture, along with menstrual blood, tends to be kind of a conduit. So I'm not sure how the two get together exactly, but it is more of a binding come hither love spell, and the cow tongue is to silence something. So I'm very confused as to how and by the way, and also that speaks more of witchcraft, which I know a lot of people confuse witchcraft and voodoo. I know we talked about the fact we wish somebody would go dig up the fucking jar. I'm aware. Right. Cow tongue is to stop communication, which is that, and that's why they threw that in there. Well, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter. The menstrual blood and the picture are more of a summoning act. How do you know it's Gypsy's blood? Because she said it was. She said that her mom put a vial of her menstrual blood, a picture of Dan, and a cow's tongue with a nail through it. A cow, I believe the nail was in it. Maybe that was just me being facetious because it's a cow's tongue. A cow's tongue is to silence. And even if you wanted to do stop communication with a picture, that could work, but the menstrual blood does not. Just throwing that out there. The jar was never found. It was only something that Gypsy came up with, so I want to go dig up the jar. Gypsy says once that she never got her period for years, so what menstrual blood did the mother have? I don't know. Maybe she got it at that point. I have no idea. Her stories never make any fucking sense, so they never make sense. So Gypsy did the ritual for Dan to keep him quiet, keep him on the DL. Don't tell anybody. I don't know, maybe. There was also a vial of DNA in the freezer, which is odd. Right. To hear that story, I will never quite understand it. I did hear that from multiple people involved, that there was a vial of DNA in the freezer. I still have issues with that. I'm sorry. They just say DNA. I've heard it from multiple people, and I have a problem with that personally. She said she had to wear diapers during that time of the month. Yeah, there was allegedly a vial of DNA in the freezer, and the only thing that I can think of is they were trying to keep some type of cell stem. I'm not sure. But there was supposedly a vial of DNA in the freezer, according to both sides that I spoke to. I don't remember there ever being a vial. Well, they didn't bring it into evidence that time because I guess they found it when they were cleaning out the house. Gypsy's DNA. I've heard that story numerous times from both Fancy and Christy, that there was a vial of DNA in the freezer. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I don't know if they were trying to perpetuate something along the lines of, some fucked up story, or if this was for medical reasons or whatever. I don't know. It was just spoken to me as DNA. It was just spoken to me as DNA. I have no idea. There was DNA in the freezer. I said, like blood, like what? And I don't remember what the fucking answer was, but there was DNA in the freezer, and she even told me that. Which again, I don't understand in the slightest. I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. Supposedly it's true. I don't know how much I believe it, but supposedly it's true. I don't know. Maybe that was to sum up the fucking blood in a jar thing. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I can answer some questions, but I can't answer all of them. I do know I was told there was a vial of DNA in the freezer. I don't remember what was said after that, but that is something that was told. The Barney thing has always thrown me because they always talk about the Barney being at the foot of the bed or at the top of the bed, but I keep seeing it in other places. So I'm very confused because it says that there is a Barney at the top of the bed or whatever. But to me, if there's a Barney at the top of the bed, that's just me throwing this out here. If there's a Barney at the top of the bed, that would be for Gypsy to comfort Dee Dee, and she still swears she never went in that room. She swears she never went in that room, but yet she swears that she did cleanup. They didn't find, supposedly, and this is why it doesn't make sense to me. Supposedly, it was found when they were cleaning out the house. The police would have had zero reason to look in the freezer. I don't know. That's all I can tell you. Yes, Christy's the one who found the DNA in the freezer. It's right next to her. I don't know. When I looked at it, I maybe they had moved it by then because I remember they took a picture of the Barney. So maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I don't know. Doing a freezing spell on her. That is a binding spell. I didn't even think about that. She could have been doing a binding spell on her in the freezer. Huh. I gotta think about that one. I'd have to really think about that one because if she's doing a binding spell in the freezer, and she puts in the yard a cow tongue and a vial of menstrual blood. Was it a conduit? Would it have been a conduit? If there was menstrual blood in the jar and a cow tongue in with the blood, and there was a vial of blood in the freezer, was the vial in the jar meant to be the vial that was in the freezer as a conduit? Dee Dee did not have a pentagram or a wizard tattoo that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong at this point. I did not see any tattoos on her, so I don't know. Maybe the wizard would make sense because they like Harry Potter. I don't know. Somebody show me a pentagram tattoo. She was a supposedly devout whatever, but then again, I keep hearing about the fact that she was a witch, so I don't know. The photo I saw that Barney was above her head. I didn't really pay attention, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. The cops moved it to a dresser. That's why. Okay. Well, what was the tattoo on her ankle? It wasn't a pentagram. There's no way. A woman, prove me wrong. I don't want to say there's no way. So they didn't look in the freezer in case there were serial killers with body parts in there. I guess those places never heard of Jeffrey Dahmer. or Ed Gein or any of those people, right? I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. What man nicely makes the bed? You can tell me she didn't put those blankets down. The binding spell isn't good, right? I don't know. This is just something somebody threw at me, dude. I'm just over here with the rest of y'all. Okay, so it's a wizard, a Merlin on a broom. I know they like Harry Potter and all that shit, so I mean that makes sense. But I don't know where people are saying she had a pentagram. By the way. I don't know. I don't know. I want to see the jar. I want to see the jar. I want to see the jar. If I was the person who lived in that house, I would be digging that yard up. I'd be digging that yard up. That's just me. I'd have been digging that. As soon as I heard that, I'd be digging that up. She didn't put, she said there was a picture, like for instance, she said there was a picture, but she didn't say if there was anything wrapped around it. That would have made sense. If there was something wrapped around it, there would have been a binding spell there done. She just said there was a picture. A picture. So, and that also just doesn't seem like enough. Usually if somebody's doing a spell jar, there's a lot more components than just a picture and some blood and a cow's tongue. Like there's usually more components. Either she really didn't have any idea what she was doing, or the person who made up the story didn't really know how that works. But usually in jar spells, there's a lot of things. Like if the last time I did a jar spell, there was at least 15 components. And the jar was this big. So I just feel like that was something for sensationalism in my mind. I just feel like it was sensationalism. Just another thing to hate her mother for, but I could be wrong. No, I don't know how big that jar was. I'm just saying when I did one, that jar was that big. Dee told everyone she was saved now and used to be a witch and liked to brag about how she still knew how to do witchcraft. Well, I know that you're from the area, so I'm going to have to take, a lot of what you say. But if you are saved, you don't go back to your witchcraft ways. If you're truly saved, you're sleeping with a prayer cloth. And apparently she slept with that prayer cloth a lot of her life. And you're not going to go back to your witchy ways because you would have denounced them. If you're devout enough to sleep with a prayer cloth, you're probably devout enough to not slip back into spell work. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't see how somebody's devout enough to sleep with a prayer cloth, but not devout enough that they're going to go and slip back into spell work. That just seems odd to me. You sent me a photo in Messenger. Okay, what is the picture? Well, Santeria has always had root in Catholicism. Santeria, all the gods and everything, they had to come up with names, whatever, so that and a lot of the plantations, so that they could practice. That's why there's a lot of Catholic things in there. God, I got a lot of messages. Holy Christ. She mentioned upside down, which would have inverted the whole thing. It sounds like a repeated story jumbled. I don't know. Okay, so there's the tattoo. Oh, that is wild. That is wild. She has a picture of a wizard with a pentagram. She does. That's wild. That's wild. You can buy cow tongues. You don't have to wrestle a cow. No, you can actually buy cow tongues, especially down in New Orleans where the Santeria is. There's places to buy chicken gizzards, cow tongues. You can go to a butcher and get a lot of these things. And Louisiana's French Quarter, come on. It's very, very easy to get animal parts for spell work. It's very, very easy. Bobby probably did the tattoo. I mean, Bobby did a lot of the tattoos. Bobby did Gypsy and Christy's tattoos. They sell them in Walmart where Ashley lives. So, I mean, it's very easy to get your hands on things needed for Santeria or voodoo or hoodoo. People eat them, dude. Yeah. She was Catholic. It's not as far as fetch. There's a lot of Catholic witches. They don't consider themselves witches, but they do all the things and roll it into their Catholic practice. Possibility. I'm shocked that when I looked at that tattoo, I did not blow it up. I'm shocked. Who knows? She wasn't devout enough to not be a con artist and fraud in spite of the prayer cloth. True facts. It's just wild to me to go above and beyond and sleep with a prayer cloth, though. It's wild. I feel like we're missing something. She said her mom bought it. That's why I don't believe it's true, because Dee Dee wouldn't know it wouldn't work if it wasn't straight off the cow. Maybe Dee Dee was going for what you can do in a pinch, because in a lot of spell work, you can use placeholders. Like for instance, if you don't have, let's say you need a carnelian, you can it's all about intent. So if you need a carnelian, you could use an orange stone with the intent, or a lot of times you'll put in clear crystal quartz. It's about the intent behind the spell, and sometimes there has to be placeholders. So maybe she just figured, I need a cow tongue, I'm gonna make it work. type deal. So I still don't believe it necessarily happened, to be honest, but I mean, I don't know. I want to dig up that yard, dude. I just want to go there and just dig up the yard. Like, it is driving me nuts. We had a whole thing on a live. Like, if you guys get me bail money, I'll go dig up the yard. I'm kidding to the person who owns the house. I'm kidding. Dan and Gypsy. How'd they get a picture together? That was printed out. Okay, this is 2015, right? Well, no, sorry. It'd been like 2011, right? 2011. You're telling me that she took a picture and got it printed out, and her mom got a hold of it. I don't know. That's a little weird for me. Because back then you had to print out pictures, obviously, because there's a picture in the fucking jar, right? So she would have had to get this picture or whatever. I don't know, maybe. Print it out. She could have printed it out instead of a picture. She could have meant a picture, as in even printed out on a piece of paper picture, for all I know. You're right. This case has everything to keep it relevant, though. Everything. According to Gypsy, she's a recovering drug addict. According to Gypsy, she was SA'd. According to Gypsy, she had a voodoo hex put on her. According to Gypsy, her mother abused her. According to Gypsy, she had she called Dan a P3DO. She was 18, and she called Dan a P3DO. Oh my God, Jan, that is freaking awful. You know somebody's going to do that, right? Somebody's already thought of that, right? God forbid that girl ever opens a P.O. box. She's going to have a box full of Barneys. You know that, right? What are we using? What are we using you for, Heezy? What are we using you for? Oh yeah, don't forget her experimentations with women in prison. She got the LGBTQ there too. Forgot that too. You're deaf so I can dig up the yard. Unless you're planning on going to jail for me. I mean, what? I'm so confused. I'll be blamed for anything. I'm blamed for everything, don't you know? Hell, I was blamed for Katrina. Don't forget. Don't forget. I hate this camera. There we go. I need a new webcam. Donations for Ryan's new webcam. Donations for Ryan's new webcam. Nice. If anyone asked, I tell them I'm deaf. I'm new in the area. I lost my dog and I'm trying to unbury it. The girls she was in with prison, though, they all have a main. They all knew that thermostat was set lower, though. Those girls in prison were told shit. That thermostat was set low. They said she told them that, and it was by a first responder that was there. It was. They didn't make that shit up. So you got to wonder when they are talking about things that Gypsy told them, fucking listen. Listen, dude. Boxes of Barneys. That's some shit I do. That is awful. That is awful. Just write on it. Box of Barney. You guys are awful. I wouldn't even have thought of that. And I'm diabolical in my brain, and I don't even think I would have thought of that. Michelle, hold on. That's a good point. Hold on. Let me see something. So in that, hold on a second. No, the pentacle is not upside down. The pentacle's not upside down. By the way, there is, for those of you who don't understand anything about pentacles or pentagrams, one is a circle, one doesn't. Upside down is second degree Alexandrianism, witchcraft, and then of course they can do satanic. But this is not upside down. It is absolutely right side up. Really, dude? Really gonna do this? It's really, dude. The way it is sitting, it's absolutely right side up. So, but that could be standard witchcraft. Mine is standard right side up. The one girl and her girlfriend are in prison for sticking up her, but they seem to have disappeared. From what I understand, Fancy got a hold of them. So we may be hearing more. I think Fancy said that that they want to talk and they're going to talk to her possibly. I don't know. I have no idea. So have we talked it out? Have we talked everything out? Hey, Ashley, you always come when I'm getting ready to get off of here. You always come when I'm getting ready to get off of here. That you always show up. Do you want to tell anybody your gypsy news? Ashley, do you want to tell anybody your gypsy news? You just woke up. Go ahead if you want to. She's in the UK. They're allowed their phones at some point, I guess. I don't know. Oh, they're fish tanks. Gypsy sent a pregnancy test to her girlfriend when she was with Ryan. Yes, so Ashley is fourth cousins with Gypsy Rose through her dad. He is Ashley's grandma's second cousin on his dad's side, and they used to go to family reunions together. She just found this out. She was talking about the Gypsy Rose case. And they're like, you know that like you're distantly related, right? And that's extremely specific. So I mean, she was 18 when she got involved with Dan. 19, almost 19, 19, 18, 19. Oh my God. You guys are awful. Santa may have skipped Gypsy after prison, but the Tooth Fairy definitely showed up for the reality show. Jesus Christ. There's a place in hell for you guys. Yeah, she just told me a couple days ago. I wonder where my husband is. Poor man. He was all excited. He was going to get home in a decent hour tonight. And then he got like a 2 hour long traffic jam. And he's like, I hope they're okay, but I am running out of hours and I got to get home or they're going to have to rescue me. All right. We're going to wrap this up. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for entertaining everything. And I'm gonna head out of here so I can keep this just gypsy related. So I'm gonna be doing a trauma live tomorrow. Tuesday I was getting my brakes done. So I'm gonna be doing a trauma live tomorrow. And we're going to have a whole conversation about how I'm going to be doing stuff and whatever. So the Trauma Live, if you are a member, it will be at 6:30 Eastern Standard tomorrow. All you have to do is be even just in the $1.99 membership, just so I can lock it down. And so there will be a Trauma Live tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's member only, but I made a tier that's only $1.99. Normally they're $9.99, $6.99, $3.99, and then so I could make sure that trauma lives are accessible to people. I made one for $1.99. The reason why I put them behind a paywall is because that way I can member them only, so they don't scroll through on people's lives when they're flipping through or whatever. That they're more of a closed thing. But I understood that people couldn't really even necessarily afford $3.99 a month, so I made a $1.99 tier. And if you join the $1.99 tier, you have access to the trauma lives that I'm going to probably be doing. I'm trying to do every week. I'm sorry, Goldie, but we're gonna have more of them. We're gonna have more. So, but you can always talk to me. You can always hit me up at my inbox if you need to talk. So, all right, and so I will see y'all later.